It's October, which means that it's time for Halloween, when vampires, ghosts, and all sorts of creatures come out as the leaves fall to the ground. I'll be discussing some Halloween-related material this month, but first, I decided to start with something not the least bit scary. I mean, there are monsters in it, but it's otherwise rather tame. And for this animated television series, that's alright. I'm referring to Mona the Vampire. Originally a series of books by Sonia Holloman, Sinar then turned it into an animated television show with Holloman's direct involvement. The general premise involves a young girl named Mona who has an overactive imagination. Thus, she imagines regular people as creatures up to some mischief. She is often joined by her friends Charlie and Lily, who somehow imagine the same things she does. Each episode follows a similar plot structure of Mona being suspicious and assuming there's some magic entity afoot with an evil plan. Is it all in her head? Yep. The series makes it fairly clear she is merely imagining everything, and the show manages to jump back and forth between reality and the events in her head. But that's the appeal of the series. The colorful animation style makes it easy to buy the leaps Mona makes. The adults are also surprisingly nonchalant about Mona's actions, although the teacher is occasionally irritated. She is somehow okay with Mona's cat being in the school, though. The parents are also perfectly content with Mona cosplaying as a vampire late at night and causing trouble on the town. What's that, dear? You're going on your nightly prowl dressed as a vampire and imagining local townsfolk as monsters? Okay, just be home by 10. Of course, we also have the standard bully characters, in this case the rich snob Angela and her frequent cohort George, because the monsters and ghouls aren't antagonistic enough, but the bully is often a common trope in these sorts of animated shows. While there was a certain formula to the series, the writers still utilized a whole bunch of monsters, and Mona herself is a character with a lot of genre savvy when it came to defeating the various monsters, which varied from robots to aliens to, of course, vampires. While the series made clear all the fantastical elements took place within Mona's imagination, the resolution was not often shown, so we're left with the question, what is exactly happening in reality? There's an episode where she sneaks into a post office and stops a skeletal postman from delivering chainmail. What happened in that post office? Or is she just talking to thin air? This being a children's series, the writers managed to have Mona stop the villains in innocent ways that are not remotely violent and lethal. So we don't have an episode where Mona accidentally kills an innocent bystander. That I know of. It's amusing to think about these things through adult eyes, but putting all that aside, Mona the Vampire works primarily as an ode to childhood imagination. The show is often on Mona's side, and the series celebrates the power of seeing the world through fantastical eyes. She's able to take mundane things and add a sprinkling of creativity, and thus the show serves to highlight a character who often uses the right side of her brain. It becomes easy to imagine Mona becoming a successful writer of horror novels in the future, or a frequent cosplayer at conventions. Her actions also primarily for purposes of good rather than any personal gain. Among girl protagonists in children's series, Mona the Vampire might rank as one of the most inspiring for that age group, and why it's a good show for children to give a watch, especially during Halloween when wearing costumes becomes a big deal. And if you're a person who wants to introduce their child to the world of vampires, zombies, ghosts, aliens, werewolves, and other creatures that fuel imagination, Mona the Vampire is a completely appropriate series with good lessons that will not give them nightmares. This is also one of those children's series where the writing is simplistic enough for younger children to fully enjoy, but also smart and clever for adults to still find a good amount to appreciate. However, I'm just getting started with these Halloween-related videos. Have a spooky October, and I'll see you next time.